where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. God has hidden unlimited treasures in His Word. Every time we open it, we can discover a new treasure, or admire an old one. What will we find today? Let's dig in. Here's Carla Early with Treasure Hunt in the Word.
Today's verse is the shortest verse in the Bible, John 11:35, and it says, Jesus wept. As I studied this passage about Lazarus' resurrection, I wondered why Jesus was so upset, why he cried. But God reminded me of vaccinations of my children. When my children were babies, I had to do something I think was the hardest thing I've ever done as a parent so far. I had to hold them down while the nurses gave them shots. It was actually worse whenever it was my second child, because I had a 2-year-old who didn't understand what was going on either. My trusting little baby boy who loved me and saw me as his only source of love and nourishment, at 3 months old, got stuck with a painful needle. 3 of them, actually. At the first one, the little guy started crying. He was looking straight into my eyes, trusting that I would do something about it. Then the second needle came. I'm convinced it didn't hurt worse, but the cries were louder, telling me something hurt and he wanted me to do something about it. But I only held him down. That third one elicited the most desperate cries. It was like he was saying, "How could you let this happen to me? I trusted you." Of course I cried. It made me infinitely sad that he felt I'd betrayed his trust. And there was no way I could explain that to him. I was allowing this smaller, momentary pain so he wouldn't get polio, measles, or whatever else those shots were for. Can you imagine how Mary and Martha felt? They'd sent for Jesus, and he'd healed so many multitudes of people. This little family, Lazarus, Martha, and Mary, were his friends. They loved him and believed in him. But when they sent for him, he didn't come. He could have said one word, just one word, and Lazarus would have been healed. But he hadn't. What he said was, "This illness does not lead to death. It is for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it." It wouldn't end in death, but it had. Lazarus was dead. Martha and Mary would have been confused, hurt, and perhaps a bit angry. Both of them, when they saw Jesus separately, met him and said, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." What they were really saying was, "We sent you a message. You didn't come. We trusted you and you failed us. We thought you loved us. How could you do this to us?" That hurt and anguish his friends were experiencing pierced Jesus' heart. That's why he wept, the same reason that I wept whenever my children got their shots, but way more intense. They didn't understand what he was about to do. They hadn't read the rest of John 11 yet. Have you ever felt that God has let you down? Well, let me tell you this. The rest of your chapter hasn't happened yet. Jesus knew what he would do. He knew the whole thing was to show everyone God's glory and to prove that he was the Son of God, able to give life, both physical and eternal life. This didn't happen because he didn't love them. Quite the opposite. They were about to be privileged to be part of the most marvelous miracle yet. This miracle would prove he was God and had power to give life. This would show that he had the power to give eternal life as well. So when it seems that God has let you down, remember this story. If you feel like Mary and Martha, have faith. Expect to see him working, showing himself strong and powerful in your situation. I'd love to read the rest of your chapter. You can contact me at treasurehuntintheword@gmail.com. I'm Carla Early. Thanks for listening. And remember, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.